Hello everyone, my name is Boulevard, and once again I want to go over the collaborative set from this week of the Aegis Esports Tournament, the Americas Week 3, the collaborative set. So, I'm going to start off with, we have Targon's Valley versus Team Space Poggers. You can see the lineups and the player names up there. So getting into the ban decks for both players, Targon's Valley, they had their Quinn Aatrox ban. This is a very standard list. I'm just going to fly it for a second and then kind of move on. Deck lists are in the description below if you want to check those out. But this is a very standard list. And then getting into what was banned by Poggers, which is their Bandle City, Tristana, Gunners, Bilgewater, whatever. And the one thing that I notice here is the lack of Puzzling Signpost, which is a very popular tech card in this list, usually as a one-of, because you want to punish champion strength decks, because those are something that you have a very difficult time dealing with. That said, Poggers maybe just had to read that Targon's Valley wasn't going to bring any champion strength decks, and correctly so. But this deck got banned, so move on. Back to Targon's Valley. Taking a look at their Samira Jinx. This is a list that I'm very interested to see play, and I really hope it doesn't get banned because I have not been able to see this list play. And one of the things that has been a hallmark of the meta for me so far is seeing lists where I'm like, I don't know why you're playing this version instead of a more common version. I don't know why you would play Samira Jinx instead of Samira Fizz. And that's a question that I'm really looking to have answered, and I'm hoping that we get to see some gameplay and I get a better idea and insights into the matchups and why people are leaning towards this in even a little bit. And then it's, again, a very standard, Teemo Tristan and Gnar. This time you have the Puzzling Signpost. You also have the Eye of Nagakoboros, which is, a very common tech card. Usually a one-of, sometimes a two-of, but people are definitely going up on that. And outside of that, this is just kind of what the Bilgewater variant looks like. It's definitely the most popular variant, at least for now. That could change over the course of the week to Demacia, but I think, one of the things that really set me on the path of, I don't know why you're playing this version instead of this version of all these different kinds of decks we have is, I don't know why you would play the Noxus version at this point. You're pretty much always going to be Bilgewater or Demacia. The Might stuff, Noxian Fervor stuff is really falling off a cliff. So if you are seeing Bandle Gunners, I do not expect it to be Noxus, and hopefully I can get those answers about, the Jinx version of Samira. And then going down to Team Space Poggers, we have Fizz Samira. This is another deck that has many variants out there that people are still kind of figuring out. Space Poggers is on the more standard list as far as I can tell. A lot of people have started to drop the Burblefish as well as the Shellies, just stating it as being a little bit too clunky, and Powder Pandemonium being the better clunky card for the meta. And you really only get to run a couple of clunky packages. Some people are going for both, and usually people are marrying one or the other. In this case, Powder Pandemonium has become the more popular version, but people are still running the Shelly version. Again, it's one of those things where it's one of them has to be better. I just have to figure out which one. I've only got a couple of days to do it. And then Jaceheimer is yet another deck where there are multiple versions running around. We have the turret package versus no turret package. The turret package is effectively referring to Adaptatron, Hextech, Handler, and Production Surge. But if you look at this list, if you cut the turret package, you free up 8 spaces. And people aren't going for Sentinels. We're not seeing the Maddie 24 Mayo stuff from the Saturday Scramble last week. We're just seeing more removal or a couple of more value units, more Forge Chief, more Ferris Financier. Sometimes they'll throw in another what do you call it? The 2-1 that Forge Chief, I think. Yeah, Forge Chief. They'll play more Forge Chief or whatever. They'll throw in some other unit or two. But they're kind of more relying on Albus Pharos and just playing their champions a little bit more reserved. So I like the additional threats coming out of the turret package, but I haven't played any Jaceheimer this season. I used to play it a lot in previous seasons. I haven't played it this season, but I've always been a really big fan of the turret package. And given what I see out of the meta currently, I definitely think that turret package Jaceheimer should do better into Bandle Gunners, just based off of everything that I know about how the games are going to play out and the tempo of everything. So definitely like this build a little bit more. But let's actually get into the games and figure out, one, why Samira Jinx is being played, and 2, if this Bandle Gunner deck has a worse matchup into the turret package out of the Jaceheimer. Those are the questions I really want answered, but might not even get those matchups. See how it goes. In classic content creator fashion, I apparently double tapped the start record button, so I recorded this VOD for 1 second, and then it stopped. Luckily, I do it game by game, so I'm now just redoing game 1 for the first time. I'm going to try the yellow today. No one said anything about the pink being hard to see, but I kind of just want to try different colors and stuff. But we've got the Bilgewater Bandle Gunners up against the Samira Fizz, and I gotta say, decent opener for the Samira Fizz. That's why the advantage bar is down here. I didn't forget to reset it. Well, I forgot to reset it from last game. I forgot to use it last game entirely, actually. I set it on the opener and then never touched it again. But the reasoning that I want to say that the Samira Fizz is advantage from this position is they've got 2 Samira, and there's really only one way for Targon's Valley to deal with that, and it's Prize Fight Ping. They also have Tristana plus Tristana's Buster Shot. But that's like an insane amount of their hand just to dealing with the Samiras. And then Poggers has refill off of like Inferno plus Barb Chain and ways to activate it with like Stylus Shot and Warning Shot. So we're going to see like a very passive early game as the Flare challenge representation is like such a big point in this matchup. Like you can't develop this, you can't develop that, you can't develop you could develop this, but you might lose it to like a either an all-out, or you might be forced to like prize fight ping a lot earlier than you necessarily want to, and then potentially lose your Tristana to a pirouette while she's got 0 level up progression, so you can never try and like get her outside of the range with a level up for the +1 health. So yeah, it's pretty expected to see like very little action out of the first 3 turns when Poggers starts off with a Samira. And now that they don't have the attack token, they like get to run out a little bit. It's going to be Grandfather Fae. I imagine this follows up with like Bandle Commando, just to get another Alcat, and then if Poggers wants to like take out the Commando next turn, then you get to go like double Alcat as 4/1s, which I think is a very reasonable line. And then you just start shoving. You know, you'll be 2 out of 4 on the Tristana and like 8 man on Bandle Gunners. Unfortunately, like Targon's Valley just doesn't have a mare or any other way to really accelerate the level of progression of the Tristana. I don't think this Eye of Nagakaboros is coming down anytime soon. I think you're playing like really tight on mana for the time being. And then next turn, you've really got to push your 5 mana post-combat. You know, you're not just getting to like eye randomly. And because you can't do this as a blocker anymore because it's focus speed, it's just like, it's kind of an awkward card for this matchup. We're not seeing Targon's Valley. Okay, yeah, there comes the Bandle Commando. This is, you know, kind of what we expected. But doesn't actually get to send it in through Inferno, which is awkward. Might as well still run it out, though. Because otherwise, Poggers just gets to, like, you know, take out the Grandfather Fae. And then you can, like, develop Tristana in the Bandle Commando, but you're kind of limiting yourself to, like, top deck options at that point. This is interesting to me because... Well, actually, I lied. It's not. It's not very interesting. It's a little boring. I was going to say, like, normally, you probably don't want to Tristana immediately, because you're kind of fine just passing and saying like, hey, you know, if you want to pass the turn, that's fine by me. Your Samira's going to reset, whatever. Maybe you end up leveling her next turn really, really quickly. But now there's a chance for like all out plus challenge to try and kill the Samira. You've got prize fight ping to fight over that though. And there's really nothing that Samira Fizz can do at fast speed to try and contest that. I should really learn to, hold on. Let me look up the shortcuts for these real quick. Control-Shift-3, Control-Shift-5. I'm tired of clicking over on my other monitor to actually go to my pencil and eraser and all that. So not going to full send it onto the Tristana, which, like, it's a pretty risky line. I don't blame them for being a lot more conservative with it. You know, prize fight ping is, like, something you always have to keep in mind, especially when your opponent is playing this, like, super passive early game. But you're going to get that. You're going to get these. Yada, yada, yada. Probably fire off a Barb Chain here. Buster Shot means you can go like Barb Chain, Warning Shot, Flare, and level the Samira, and then drop this Samira after the fact. There's not a lot of point in like all-outing this Samira so that she can live at 1 when you can just play another Samira, because leveling Samira doesn't actually get you any further into the progression of the level up. I had to check to make sure I was recording, because again, last I did record this and then apparently I forgot to hit record, or I double tapped record rather, so like I have to make sure. I'm worried now. Volume's good, my mic is on. All right, we're chilling. So Pogger's still like in a pretty good spot. Actually gonna move the advantage bar even a little bit more, because the hand is just so slow out of Targon's Valley. You know, like a Gnar top deck is cool. Pokestick's like okay in this matchup. It's not great, but when you pair it with prize fight, it always feels really good. But more importantly, it's just like a unit that can progress Tristana and Bandle Gunners, which is kind of the stoppage point for Targon's Valley at the time being. Like, they're so far away from winning the game because they have both of their very powerful threats. They're just not online, and they don't really have the tools to facilitate that. You'd almost wonder if, like, an Eye of Nagakaboros would be fired off next turn just to try and find more, but the problem is, like, you can't take the turn off of developing the units that you already have in order to dig for more. This just isn't a deck that's going to give you the time to do that. It's so awkward. I, like, looked up the shortcut, and then I still keep clicking over because it's, like, Control-Shift and a number. I want you to look at your keyboard right now and try to hit Control-Shift and a number, and tell me that isn't like an awkward position for your fingers. Some expensive cards off of the fleeting, but you know, still castable. You've got double Stylus Shot, so you probably don't feel too bad about going like Stylus Shot Barb Chain and drawing a card. Here, I think the Pirouette gets used. The question for me is like, where are you sending the 1 damage? Because you could send it here. And also, like, Warning Shot got discarded last turn, right? So they clearly don't value the 1 damage on the Nexus. Like, obviously they were trying to keep it open for, like, a Fizz answer because they didn't have any other castable 0 or 1 cost spells in hand. But it did kind of indicate that they're not too worried about the incremental Nexus damage. And I almost wonder if it should just go here for the Pirouette for the 1. Because then when you play the level 2 Samira, you actually have a clean challenge onto the Tristana if that's a line that you want to open up for yourself in the future. So it is like a little weird to me to see like Warning Shot held back last turn and then like playing aggressively on the Nexus with the Pirouette. It just feels like a micro diversion in strategy. And it's one that I might just be overthinking. But I don't think if you fire off your fleeting Warning Shot that your opponent sees as fleeting because it was the most recently drawn card and they're probably hand tracking, I don't think they see you fire that off and go, oh, I'm good to group shot the Fizz. I just don't think that's something they would do. But Space Poggers disagreed, wanted to play it like super safe. You know, just kind of going like, hey, you know, I'm already winning this game. The only way that I lose is if I fire off that Warning Shot and then they kill my Fizz. But it does still leave me questioning, like, why Pirouette the Nexus when you could Pirouette the Tristana? And maybe the answer is I'm never planning to Samira challenge the Tristana, which I don't think is true. I think there are universes where you do that. Again, this isn't a very big deal, right? It's really not that big a deal, but it's kind of the only thing that there is to focus on for the time being, because otherwise, like, the play from both players has been like, you know, they're doing what they can. Here, if it was just Tristana that they wanted to send in, I don't think you ever block this. I think you can get more value out of this blocker. But if they're going to send in the Owlcat, I think that's when you take them up on that. You say, yeah, get this out of here. And I understand the idea of trading these two because you don't want to set this, like, this is the only pingable unit that you have right now. So you might as well just kind of get it off the board. And that's something that I ran into a lot in, like, the Jack Seraphine, Karma Set, Samira Fizz meta, was like constantly preemptively sacking your units to your answers. So I wouldn't have hated this block, but I think that knowing that your opponent is playing like prize fight ping stuff, you kind of want to just make them ping things like this so they're not pairing it with prize fight because they're not running buster shots. So like prize fight ping is really the only way for them to deal with Samira. And now I like the preemptive prize fight ping here. Just like give them 0 downtime with this Samira. There's no real reason to let them like try and play the progression. What I'm not so sure about though is like, I think I'd fire off Barb Chain here. I think you just want more cards next turn because at the moment your hand next turn is like, it's shit. Please stop drawing cards. Is you don't have this all out and you don't have these two, so you have like Swindle, 2 flares, a Barb Chain, and a shot, and like maybe you just want the spell mana so that if you draw monkeys you can play it more efficiently, but I don't know. I really like the Barb Chain to just try and like dig for monkeys because monkeys next turn wins you the game. And then I want to reiterate that they didn't know monkeys was on top of the deck. All right, they didn't know. They didn't know this would have gotten burned if they had gone for the Barb Chain play. Whatever, man. All right, it's on top of the deck. My play would have burned it and lost the game. Theirs doesn't. So, but now they've just got lethal, right? Because you can just style a shot, send in the cavalry. That's gonna be. Yeah, you're pushing them down to 5, right? They pokey stick here. You're actually sending them down to 7. That gives you 4 board spaces. So you monkey, you end turn. They go to 3. You style a shot. You flare. You flare. You don't end turn and then style a shot. Like you style a shot while it's still this turn. But yeah, that's just the way it goes. And then like if they don't ping, then you just monkey. They go to 2 and you go flare flare. So it was really just about, like, find monkey. And they did it. They found monkey. I'm not totally sure that barb chaining last turn wasn't the play, but again, like, I've played 0 Samira Fizz, I've played 0 Bandle Gunners, it's all been casting. These are not decks that I enjoy. Like, I don't enjoy these styles of decks, so, like, I'm not gonna play them. I don't have to. I can cast them and get a good enough idea, but some of those more unique nuances that don't even come up really in casting, that come up more in like in-depth VOD reviews when I'm like thinking a little bit differently, is stuff like that, like not warning shotting here and holding it for the fizz, the identification of the lose condition, and it's just like stuff that the players are thinking about more than like I'm thinking about. You know, you give me like 2 minutes and I'll figure it out, but I don't have 2 minutes. These players are already firing off. And they're in a collaborative set too, so they're all probably on like the same page, and they get to make the decisions a little bit faster because like 3 people say the same thing, and you're like, all right, yeah, we're chilling. But that is going to be Space Poggers going up 1-0. Let's take a look at game number 2. All right, this is a matchup that I had mentioned I was very excited for because I want to see how Turret Package Heimer Jace fares into Bilgewater Bandle Gunners. Because the big question coming into the WCQ is this a targetable matchup? And if it is, how hard do I have to go into targeting it? Because I mentioned on Tournament Tactician, it was like Aatrox Vayne, Bandle Gunner Demacia, and Samira Fizz were 3 decks that all had like a 60% win rate into Bandle Gunner Bilgewater. And then Heimer Jace was at a solid 52% win rate in the favor of this deck, so it's actually a 48% win rate. But it's hard to tell just looking at ladder stats. Is that the turret version or is it not the turret version? And it's actually just a mix of the two. And I don't know which one's more popular, so I don't know where the stats are getting skewed. But it did make me think that Heimer Jace is definitely a playable deck into Bandle Gunner Bilgewater. And looking at the hands here for each of these players, you know, like, the big weird part is trying to play a formula on 3. And especially trying to play a Piercing Darkness on 3 if they don't Tristana. And I think that's why you're just going to see the Reggie come down, even though like there is a Hextech handler that you'd love to get online next turn. I think like Reggie into Jace while holding double Mystic Shot is just like a lot better. And looking at the hand of Targon's Valley, prize fights are like okay in this matchup. They don't currently have any. They have like 1 ping to pair with it, but they don't have a high enough attack to really like they have a high enough attack here to like take out a Heimer. But I don't think that's really what they can afford to be doing with their mana on turn 5. Or rather, I don't think it's, like, impactful enough. I think they're not going to have anything else to do with their mana on turn 5. But so far, I'm willing to put the advantage bar, like, very slightly in the favor of the Heimer Jace player. Because, like, double Mystic Shot's going to help take things out. Jace with Challenger is going to help take things out. You kind of have to deviate from your more traditional lines of just, like, you know, Herder, turn 3, play 6-mana spell, turn 4, play Hextech Handler, turn 5, play Heimerdinger, and start balling from there because you only have 1 spell mana. But I think like Jace is a big enough pressure point here and punish that Targon's Valley is going to have a really hard time getting through it. And if you try to prize fight post-combat now, like you try to do this, you just lose the Mystic Shot. You almost have to prize fight right now with the Owlcat onto the Jace. I think that has to happen. I don't think you can let Challenger Jace rock even with 3 HP. Because like open attack, we're just going to take this out. Not worried about holding this back for a Tristana because you have answers for that in a couple of different ways, even just like double Mystic Shot or Mystic Shot High Note. And Space Poggers would love to get a 6-mana spell established. Oh, we're even going to pre-commit a Mystic Shot. You have to prize fight now. You gotta prize fight. Thank you. It's going to let that play out. I had to check to make sure I was recording again. I'm paranoid now. Prize fight and ping. Oh, ping onto the 2-1 to save the 3-1. I do like that. I think spell shield units are extremely valuable here. I do like that a lot. Especially because the way that you want to sequence it is like Perilous Pastry, then prize fight. So you still have like prize fight ping available at slow speed if that's something that you need to do in the future, which it could be. Now though, what do you do here is Targon's Valley. All you've got is a Bandle Commando. It's kind of awkward. You know, Poggers is going to be able to, like, play out a Hextech Handler. It's not going to activate, so Targon's Valley might get a small victory in trading the Owlcat for the Hextech Handler. But, yeah, I think the pass out of Space Poggers is reasonable. I didn't expect a pass out of Targon's Valley. I thought Targon's Valley would run out the Bandle Commando. Ooh, now things get interesting though. This is why I've been theorizing that like the turret version is definitely like playable into this matchup. Mare gets to come down. If you wanted to activate Jace, you could formula into, like, you could play formula for 6 mana, and then you could play this for 6 mana. It's a little dicey here, because, like, while this is a strong unit, it's not one that you're willing to use this kind of removal on. But I also don't, like, I don't think you can really afford to fire removal at this mare right now. I actually kind of like just letting this rip, because this is probably not a super impactful attack turn. I don't mind passing either. Like, I don't mind if Poggers goes for the pass, because if they just, like, you know, swing at you for 6 and put you at 10, then you're super safe to run this out. I also don't mind Handler and then this, because it keeps all of your units not immune to pings, but like they're not just gonna randomly die to a Perilous Pastry. And that's kind of the issue of like, if you went for a 9 mana one here, and then you got like the 6-1 and like a 3-1, then Perilous Pastry all of a sudden just like rolls you over. You know, they kill the 6-1, they just swing into the 3-1, and all of a sudden like you've lost all of your turrets. You really need this to like go wide. If you got the 8-8, that'd be cool. Even if you got the 7-1, like, you know, maybe you get a free block and then they Perilous Pastry it. That wouldn't be ideal for you, but I actually do really like getting the Hextech Handler down first. I would just also still like to see this for 6 mana, I think. Based on the given board state, I wouldn't have also... I, like, would not have hated Mystic Shot High Note and then run this for more mana next turn. The problem is then you can't block with the Hextech Handler. This is really unfortunate because now you get group shotted, and that's like that's one of the big risks of running this out for only 6 mana, is you're guaranteeing, or not guaranteeing, but opening yourself up to the possibility that you only get 1 turret and it's not an 8-8. So that's something you want to be thinking about a lot. And with Heimer Jace coming up, I talked about previously on Twitter, I made this video where I was asking Ruben about how the math works out for that card specifically. The 0 mana spell that makes all the turrets, whose name I just said 100 times and now I can't think of. And I was asking him about how the math on it works, and I found out that the percentages are not equal. And the example that I used was if I have 6 board spaces and I have 3 mana, you know, you would think that I have an equal opportunity to get like a 3-1, a 2-1, or 3-1-1s, right? So you would think it's a 33% chance of each of those. But what actually happens is it rolls each turret individually. So a 2-1 is actually a different board state than a 1 and a 2. Meaning, you actually have I think it's like a 25% chance here. It's like a 25% chance to get a 3 mana turret, a 50 or like a 33% chance to get a 2 mana turret and a 1 mana turret, and then like a 17.5% chance for this scenario and a 17.5% chance for this scenario, which actually brings it to like a 50% chance for you to end up with a 2 mana turret and a 1 mana turret, is essentially how that worked out. And what I want to do is write a little code that allows you to like plug in a number and be like, hey, I have X board spaces, I am spending Y mana, what are the odds of each board state? I'd like to do that. I don't know fuck all about coding, so I probably can't. But back to the game, Double Handler comes out, just like a really unfortunate roll on the... I'm looking up the name of this card. I don't know why I can't think of it. Production Surge, thank you. Like, a really unfortunate roll on the Production Surge just gets, like, rolled by group shot, and that's why it's really important to understand the percentages of what you're willing to hit on the Production Surge and, like, try to play to the maximums. Actually, like, really, really strong that Poggers got to do this on a defensive turn. So now all of the incoming damage is much, much less. This might be Mystic Shot High Note. It's almost certainly gotta be. but you'd like Targon's Valley to commit a prize fight first. Oh, it's so awkward when the Bandle Gunner comes down. Like, prize fight Bandle Gunner synergy is so strong because of how impact works when you're in combat. Because you are striking with the attacking creature, and so like the impact goes on the Nexus. This is looking like lethal for Targon's Valley. I never moved the advantage bar because I was explaining turret math. Yeah, this is just lethal with prize fight. Whether you prize fight Nara to get a second pokey stick, or you prize fight this for the Impact 3, it should be this one because that's the one that's lethal right now. But that is going to be lethal for Targon's Valley, take us to a game number 3. And I gotta wonder how this game would have turned out if the production surge had, you know, not rolled a 6-1. And actually, through the power of movie magic, I'm going to take a look at that right now. So let's say you hit best case scenario, which is, I would say best case pretty undeniably, is 3/2 tough turrets. So you hit that instead of this. This doesn't have a target. You can't even like do both of these. Suddenly you get to go in with like this and this, which you can also play this and go in with this. So you're probably only dealing like 1 damage as opposed to what they actually got to do. Which I think, yeah, was a full swing. Yeah, it just kind of feels like this came down to production surge RNG. Because after this attack goes off, yeah, you're down to 7. They would have been at fucking 15, dude. They took so much damage for that low roll on the production surge. And it makes me wonder, like, you know, I still do feel like the production surge version of this deck can be favored here. It's just a matter of, like, actually what you roll off the production surge, which is so wild. But let's look at game number 3. All right. I finally get to see Samira Jinx for the first time, and this is a deck where, like, I don't know why this is where you're committing your Samira in the lineup. I don't know why you're playing this over Samira Fizz. I think Jinx is a good champion. I don't think she's a great champion anymore. Excuse me. And this hand just, like, it's not bad. You know, it's aggressive. You get your classic make your own Legion rearguard split into 2 units, which is pretty much worse than a Legion rearguard. Poggers, based on last game, yeah, like, the production surge would be really cool. And I think this is something where it's kind of an issue where it's like I said last game, you know, I broke down the percentages for you. The problem, though, is that whichever way the turrets roll, you still have a 33% chance to hit just a 3-1 here. So that would have been really awkward. Like, if you roll the 3-1, then, like, you're still just taking 5 damage, and now you don't have production surge. It's so much safer to do it here at 6 mana. But again, like, if you just hit that 6-1, you're screwed. Even if you hit a 5-1 and a 1-1, it's so awkward. But I think this still has to be the play. Because this is your answer for Jinx down the line. Or at least a very good answer for Jinx down the line. This isn't bad. Like, you hit a tough turret, so that can at least trade here. The important thing is that you don't attack with this 4-1, because then you just lose it to the 1-1. This is a lot of Flame Chompers in hand, though. You might be taking more damage than you really want to next turn, and it is a little awkward that you've taken yourself off of this as an answer for the Jinx. But you really didn't have much choice, because you really can't just, like, float turn 3 like that. I don't even think you can pass. I don't think you can, like, get open attack down to 10, and I don't think you can, like, Mystic Shot plus High Note down to only going to 14 if you decide to play nothing and Targon's Valley passes and then they open attack on 4. Because then Jinx comes down and, like, you know, you're down to 3 mana again anyway. But boy, is this brutal. You can't take 12. It's got to be High Note Mystic Shot. But even going down to 9 here is so rough. Especially because you're not going to have 6 mana next turn. But as soon as this resolves, Piercing Darkness, it's feeling pretty good. But for now, I don't know if they're going to get the time. The hand is basically, you know, you'd want to think that Targon's Valley hand was like dead at this point, but Sump Dredger is a very live card, very high amount of pressure to put on Space Poggers. Samira just gonna come down in the main too as well. It's Space Poggers just like has not been able to stabilize here. If they had gotten 6 1-mana turrets, that would have been the high roll of the century and they could play the game, but maybe that's why people aren't playing this version of the deck, is like you're just living too close to the neck on your production surge rolls. And like we saw Space Poggers potentially lose 2 games that could have been won by super high rolls on the production surge. So, you know, that just is what it is. They low rolled the shit out of game 2. I don't know that like 2 turrets here was necessarily a low roll. And even if they got like a 5-1 and a 1-1, then like the only thing that really changes is Targon's Valley's at 15. There's no way they're blocking the 5 damage turret. And that doesn't feel like it's going to be relevant this game. So like there were a number of situations where they only hit 2 turrets. And the fact that like they'd all be at 1 HP, it really doesn't change anything. Jace kind of has to just take out... I don't even think you can take out Samira. I think you actually might have to take this out. You can do it, because the problem is, if you go with Samira, you get flared, you go to 8. Next turn, this challenges you. They have a flare still because you struck Samira. And then, even if they open attack, like, they pull this to the side. This goes to 5 attack. This is 4, this is 2. So you, like, Vengeance this. You take 6. You go to 2. The flare that they have in hand puts you at 1. And then you are almost certainly not stabilizing from that position. Especially because you just Vengeanced. So you're not going to get, like, a clean... piercing darkness, and even if you do, like, you go back up to 6, you take 1 unit off the board, and then like they just drop Jinx on you, and you're just back to square one. You don't have any fast speed removal. So yeah, everything's kind of playing out like I just explained. It's not as far behind as they usually are when they go on these lengthy explanations, but this is what I was talking about. Is like, now you take 6, you go down to 2, you get flared, you get a 1. Piercing Darkness isn't going to gain you double health because nothing's that big. Jinx comes down. Not quite enough mana to level the Jinx. Next turn there will be, though. This might even just be, like, Flare Augmented. You could level Jinx in response, but I don't think that does anything. I think you'd rather just Flare Augmented. And this, again, is, like, the issue I was talking about, where, like, yeah, you get to go back up and stabilize a little bit more this turn, but you've still just got a Jace. Your opponent, like, you don't have any fast speed removal in hand, so you're probably still dead to the next attack, but it doesn't even matter because your opponent just draws Mystic Shot. So this is the issue here now, right? Is like, let me get rid of this, actually. I didn't see anything out of the Jace Samira that shows me, like, this is why we're the Samira deck. Maybe Flame Chompers is getting a lot more value than I'm giving it credit for, because it pulls, like, in the Bandle Gunners matchup, it pulls the 1-3 out of the way, which isn't bad, but, like, the Samira decks tend to be doing very well into the Bandle Gunners deck anyway, but here, like, I didn't see anything that really, like, sold me on this list. It kind of just looked like a high roll discard aggro, but on the side of the Jace Heimer, I can kind of see people just being tired of losing to RNG of the production surge. And it's crazy how swingy the high rolls versus the low rolls on that can be, because in game 2, like, if they just rolled the 3 if they had rolled 3 tough turrets, like the absolute high roll, and I'm gonna base this off of, like, absolute high roll situations, not even just like average. And I do think they low rolled their turrets. They hyper low rolled in game 2. They, like, kind of low rolled game 3. Any 2 turrets would have been bad there. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. And there were a lot of situations where you get 2 turrets, or God forbid 1 turret. But if we go off the absolute high rolls, game 2 they get 3 tough turrets. I'm pretty sure they win that game. Game 3, if they get 6 1-mana turrets, I think they might also win that game, because then suddenly, like, they're not taking any unit damage anymore. They got so many chump blockers, or maybe even like 5 1-mana turrets in a, or sorry, 4 1-mana turrets in like a 2-1. Like, I think the high rolls out of production surge swing both those matchups so wildly, and I guess that's just something that players aren't willing to play for, which is understandable because we just watched it not happen and Space Poggers lose a set for it. But Anyway, that is going to do it for me. I've been Boulevard. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.